And you find couples like this all the time. And it's like, I don't know. I heard a friend of mine was telling me about this. This couple that they're friends with, and they haven't had sex in 6 years. Mm-hmm. And no one's talked about it even once.
And that's not an agreement. They're just not talking about it.
Well, it's a tacit agreement.
Right. But it's not a conscious agreement. Like they never went to each other and said, we're not going to have sex anymore.
No.
And that's what happens when you're not talking. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, how did you know not to give up on me? Because I think this is where a place where what?
I thought you were really hot. I really wanted to have sex with you.
I wanted to have sex with you. I hope it would work out.
I really wanted to have sex with you bad. Yeah, a lot. That was it.
Oh my
God. How did I know to?
Because I think people wonder.
Because I think I felt like, okay, so we should be able to talk about this. We should be able to say hard things. We should be able to have difficult conversations. And it just didn't feel, I mean, to your point earlier, it didn't feel like it was a finished conversation. And I was like, no. There was almost a sense of like allegiance to the thing that we had created, that we had agreed to. Like, I felt like, if I'm honest, I felt like that whatever was going on for you, and I didn't fully understand it because you didn't fully understand it. So you couldn't really articulate it what it was for me, but it just didn't feel in sync with what we had created. And I was like, holy shit, we have this fucking awesome thing that we've created. And now what we're going to do, we're just going to like not talk about it. We're going to not go there. No, we're going to fucking go there. And I kept doubling down on, we need to talk about this. We need to fix this. We need to figure this shit out. And because, frankly, sexual connection, physical connection with you is really important to me. It's, and not for all the like cliche mammalian bullshit things, but like it's deeply one of the ways I feel deeply connected to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't want to give up on that. I didn't want to be one of those couples that were like, yeah, anyways, kind of don't do that anymore. No, she's great.
Well, and I didn't want that either, and it's so hard when you don't know what's going on. But I love what you said, that there's allegiance to this thing we've created. And even when there was that hiccup, or I was processing something that I wasn't aware of, there's still so much more that we're connected to. There's still so much more to our relationship. There's still evidence that I'm still there with you.
Right.
And I think people want to know, like, how do I know when to continue and when to keep like nudging the conversation and when to stop? And
well, this is it. Well, maybe this isn't it, but it's feel, right? Like you have to feel it out. And like, why are you staying? Are you staying because you're afraid? You're afraid that you're going to lose this person. You don't know how to face the world on your own. For me, it's when you're offering something that's really important, like about your sex life, as an example, or like we never communicate, or one of those like really important couples pieces, and your partner refuses. You weren't refusing to work on it. Like, right. I was watching you. You weren't like saying no, or I'm just done. You weren't saying that at all. There was a big question mark above your head. Like, what is going on here? I don't really know. But when personal responsibility is vacated around a subject that is really important to your partner, or to the relationship, like sex and sexuality, consensual sex and sexuality, I know that might bring up all kinds of questions. Then I think that's when you kind of know that when someone doesn't want to communicate with you, when someone doesn't want to be physical with you, it's one of the things I say about my practice is I can't fix it. I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And so if someone's like, yeah, I know, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know if it's hormonal. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to the doctor. I want to check it out. Let's get under the same tent together. Let's figure this out. Then there's absolutely, still room for growth. There's still something left there to fight for. But when someone just sort of unilaterally shuts it down, and I see this happen all the time on both sides of the fence, male, female, gay, straight, doesn't matter. There's sometimes one partner that goes, yeah, I'm kind of done.
Mm.
And when they won't own the work around that, that for me is time to check out.
Yeah. Like when speaking to the culture of our relationship, you know, sexual connection, friendship, communication, growth, personal responsibility, all those things are vital. And if one of us were to refuse to connect or go there in one of those, that would be a huge red flag. If we just stopped all of a sudden, I'm not doing that with no explanation.
Mm-hmm. Or my other favorite was, I am who I am.
Right.
It's that couple that I talked about in the book who they had been coming in and working the 5 practices. They'd been working on mindfulness, parts, narrative, choosing each other. And then ironically, we got to the last one, personal responsibility, and they'd been doing really, really well. And they came in, they sat down, and I noticed that the energy between them was strange. And I thought things had been going really well, and they had been. And she looks at him and said, do you want to tell him? And looked at me. And he goes, I'll tell him. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, I don't want to be mindful of what I'm thinking. I don't want to be aware of my parts and how I'm showing up. I don't care about the narrative and choosing and all that shit. I am who I am. And his wife said, what am I supposed to do that? And I said, well, you've got a couple of choices as I see it. And I know you've heard this story before, but the story, I said, you can accept this. This is just who he is and have no more expectations of him. Or you can pack your shit. Mm-hmm. The other way to go is you can pack his shit. But there's no relationship to be had where there's no personal responsibility.
Right.
And so when someone vacates something that would be considered like lifeblood of a good relationship, like communication, like I'm just not going to talk about hard things. See that one all the time too.
Right.
Like, yeah, she just won't go there. He just won't go there. I don't know how you're supposed to connect.
Right. Right. And people often say, I don't know what more I could do. And I have to remind them, it's not your job to do their part. It's not, you can't make them communicate. You can't make them go to therapy. Like I see a lot of times one partner trying so hard to make it better. Mm-hmm. And it's like you just said, you can't fix, I don't want to.
Well, what do you do? And I know you've had this before. What do you say when you have an individual in your practice and they're like, yeah, my partner will not go to couples counseling or will not see a therapist?
And then I have to ask them if that's okay for them. If that's enough. I ask them like, so is there enough to keep you there?
See, that one pisses me off.
Why?
Like it pisses me off.
Like which part?
The one where they say like, I don't want to, I'm not going to read that book. I'm not going to go to therapy.
Yeah, it pisses me off, but I have to ask the partner like, well, I guess you have to decide if that's enough for you, if there's enough in the relationship for you to stay.
See, I want to answer it for him and be like, that's not enough for you.
I know. Well, trust me, I mean, just because growth is so important to me and it's so important in our relationship, and that's where I get people kind of going, well, they're this and they're that. And then, we kind of circle around, but eventually they might get to, it's not enough, but it's up to them if it is. And so I often say, okay, you'll have to compromise a lot of your needs and desires in relationship. And you have to decide if being roommates is enough for you.
Yeah. Or, well, everything will circle around their wounding and their lack of attention to how their wounding's playing out.
Right.
And so you'll have to give them a lot of passes on shitty behavior.
Right. And that's the thing is like, I explain that to them. Well, you're going to be in this position over and over again. You're emotionally abandoned over and over again, or you're sexually abandoned or whatever it is physically, whatever it is in the relationship that all of a sudden the partner has stopped connecting on. If their partner's a heavy drinker and well, that this is part of it. They're not going to be connected when they're drinking. And that, it's just like reminding them, okay, if this is what you're choosing to stay with, this is what it's going to be like. And is that enough for you? And I think people are often so scared of being alone or leaving or all the things that come with change. Like we don't like change as humans. It terrifies us. So they'll talk themselves into it for a while. And then at some point they'll decide, I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. It says to me that they're not willing to do the work. right? And so going back to the question you asked me earlier is like, when do you know? It's like when someone's unwilling to do the work on themselves, that's a huge red flag.
Mm.
I remember it was early-ish in my dating. I was in my early 20s, and I was dating this girl, and was dating her for a long time, and I had been reading like all kinds of self-help books, and I'd gotten really kind of into the whole self-help scene, and was like got really curious about like how my brain works and why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And so I remember bringing her like all these cool, what I thought to be really cool ideas, and this was the moment I knew it was over. And she said, "Can it just be what it is? Does it always have to be like this thing where you're digging into it?" And I was like, "Oh, you're kind of a simple person. You're just simpleton." But I knew like I could have stayed with that person. I could have, I guess.
No, you couldn't have. I know you too well. That would have driven you crazy.
I would have gone nuts.
Nuts.
Yeah. But that was her answer, is like, can't this just be easy? Can't this just be simple? And I was like, I don't think it can be. I don't think human beings are that simple. I think it's important for us to question ourselves. And if you are a person who questions and reads and digs in, and you're with someone who doesn't, that's difficult. That's really, really difficult. It's like when we went to school, we went to the Helix training program together, and we would always marvel at the idea of couples, of one person who went through this program and dug into themselves and had a partner at home that was going like, what is going on? What are you doing? What are you reading?
Yeah. That would have been really hard. Yeah.